Hey guys, welcome back. We've got a game of Saga up, and it's my Crusaders versus my opponent's Anglo-Danish. And we're going for a mission that was put in Wargames Illustrated. I can't remember the issue offhand, I'm afraid. And it was basically done as a competition winner who designed a scenario for using their villagers and shepherds set. And lucky enough, I've got the Grip and Beast set of those, and I thought we'll try out the scenario. So let's have a quick look at the setup. Basically, you have a stockade at the top there, into which the villagers are trying to get to. And if you look down the bottom left, bottom centre, and the bottom right, there's 3 groups of 5 villagers. These guys move medium, heading towards the centre of the stockade. We did have a gateway there, but actually made the actual gate too wide for the scenario itself, so we just closed it all up. So yeah, and then my warlord is set up in the centre, L in, I believe, of the board. And everyone is set up within M of him, and then the opponent's force is deployed on the top left and top right hand corners. So here's my force. It's the Crusaders. I have 2 Hearthguard mounted. They're at the back there. I have a foot warlord with heavy weapons, so he's got Danax basically. Then I've got 3 units of warriors, one which has crossbow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's right, I'm just making sure I got it right there. That's correct. My opponent, he's got, I believe, 3 units of Hearthguard, Warlord, and 3 units of Warriors. The Warriors here have been grouped up into a large unit of 12 here, supported by 2 Hearthguard, each of a group of 4, which makes them very fragile, but I think he's done it to try and have a bit more manoeuvrability to capture the peasants. And on the left hand side there, he's got the other unit of 12 warriors, supported by a Hearthguard unit of 4 Danaxmen. So the scenario is I've got to get these guys through the stockade, and my opponent has to capture them. By moving to base contact with them, they basically pick up one of these guys for one of their warriors or models, basically. So if they have them, they count as being theirs at the end of the 7 turns. I think it plays for. But yeah, they basically get points for capturing them and holding them at the end of the game, or if they move them off the top table edge, they count permanently as theirs. So it's a safe bet to hide them away. So yeah, that's the challenge. These guys move medium, as I say, towards the stockade. They move through my own troops, they'll move around enemy troops, and they'll go in as straight a line as possible. So I start off and chuck 3 dice into my prayers. Normally I chuck a fair few dice in this, but unfortunately I have to maneuver pretty much on the first turn, otherwise I'm going to get surrounded and blocked in, and my peasants are going to get captured. So I only go for 3 dice, and unfortunately I didn't roll a 6, so I managed to only get justice up and running. And I've only got 5 of the dice, even though I'm generating 7 for my warband, I believe. Let's quick look. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I can generate 7, but you can roll 6 most. But I've used 3 dice in my prayers, so I don't have access to those 3 dice. So I have 5 dice, and that's what I do with them. So I've taken the cross there, which is very awesome to help movement. Adds 2-inch movement to all my foot troops, and adds 4 inches to all my cavalry. So at the end of my movement, it's looking something like this. I've just tried to spread out to try and capture the attackers into those quarters, allowing my peasants to move up in behind my troops. The peasants also move only after my turn, so once I've done this photo, I think I then move them. Yeah, here's just a quick snap of the peasants moving towards the stockade. Well, we've opened up the stockade there just for the photos, so you can see where you're going. And the troops, the opponent's just rolling up his dice now. Not a lot happened with my opponent. He's just trying to move his troops forwards, getting ready to try and ambush some peasants. Really wanting that 6, I throw another 3 dice at it and managed to get a 6, so I've got my fortitude. I really like this ability because that one actually increases a lot of other abilities as well, and it's quite powerful on its own standing. I mean, for 1 dice, I think you can get 5 attacks. I think the Normans have got that for like a 2/6 ability. So for me, I can get it on 1 dice, but I've got to have fortitude. So in my turn, I start with shooting. Since he's using such small Hearthguard units, preferably I don't use a Hearthguard unit lower than 6. 8's ideal. They take casualties quick, I know they can knock out a lot of hurt, but unfortunately, especially if your opponent's got shooting, so if it's up against something like the Welsh or the Bretons, you want big units to soak up the damage. And as you can see here, I've managed to knock off 3 of these guys. I think that was 2 rounds of shooting from my crossbowmen. And I can't help but not take advantage of that. So in my knights go against his warlord. He's only got 1 guy there he can pass off wounds to, so this should obliterate his warlord, and we'll see what happens. So yep, I lose 1 knight for the cost of his warlord. I'm quite happy with that exchange. That's lost him 2 dice. Though he did have a ability, and I think this unit ended up with 3 fatigue on it after he played it. So as you can see, I'm just fanning my troops out now to just try and give it a corridor through the centre of the board there to allow my peasants to get across. And as you see, yeah, my knights ended up with 3 fatigue on them. I gained 2 additional fatigue at the end of the combat. Was the ability that he played. I can't remember what it's called, I'm afraid. My opponent takes advantage of my knights being in a crap place and having lots of fatigue on them, so he goes in with his warriors. Also, cavalry, in theory, can only fight in 2 ranks, so I'm only going to be fighting with 4 guys, even though I've got 7 there. So this is a perfect advantage for him to go in against these guys. I managed to get a couple of casualties through, but yeah, I lose overall half my Hearthguard there. I take 3 to his 2, so I'm pushed back. No, I haven't been pushed back to right in front of my opponent's Hearthguard. He decides to chuck the Hearthguard in against my knight, just to try and cause some extra damage on him. Whether or not it was a good idea to, I have my doubts, because he's now struggling with Saga dice, because obviously he's lost his leader, and now he's lost one of his Hearthguards, so he's generating 3 less Saga dice, so he's currently generating 4 dice now. And on the far side, he starts moving up Hearthguard. And at the end of the turn, we're looking something like that. So this time into my prayers, I'll just chuck 2 dice and get the most common dice, which I've now got Temperance. So that's my entire battle board open to me now. So I have more options, excuse me, of doing what I like. Do excuse me, I'm just having a coughing fit at the moment every time I switch this on. The knights, I decide I'm just going to bolster up to give them as many attacks as I can. I think they end up with the full 12 complement attacks and re-rolling to wounds, but not having my having my armor dropped by 1. So these guys are going to go into die, but their job now is to take out another point, another Saga generating unit, and that gives my left flank to be free and open. And they do pretty well. They take out 7 warriors, and I lose my 3 knights. But I have got my shooting now, who should be able to cover it up and finish off that small unit. And as you can see, it's the end of the turn. Everyone's slowly making their way towards the palisade. And yeah, it's looking alright. So now my opponent starts pushing the right flank. There's limited things he can do now. He's only generating 4 Saga dice, so he's only one combat he can really heft up if he wants to get aggressive. So yeah, he chucks 1 down the bottom on the right hand side. I managed to knock off 3 of my warriors and only lose 1 of his. And then that was the end of his turn. Other than that, he just moved his troops up. Actually, he's blocking off now with his warriors. He's almost at the gateway. So I'm going to have to do something about that pretty soon. So no prayers for me, I can just get straight into the action on the left hand side. I start shooting at those last warriors to try and get rid of him and knock 2 off. Here I set up to go in with my warlord and my warrior unit into his warriors. Unfortunately, he intimidated my warriors, so then I had the option of either moving my warlord in by himself or hold off for another turn, but I couldn't really afford to hold off for another turn if I could just win this combat and drive them back. He's only getting, I think he's missing 2 guys, so he's getting 10 attacks, and I've got great 2-hand weapon. I might go down. I've got some extra defense dice from abilities, and I thought, well, hell with it, I'll go for it and see what happens. And by the skin of their teeth, my warlord does his stuff and manages to kill off 3 and doesn't take any damage himself. I think he takes 1 wound, which is ignored through his resilience, and drives back the warriors, which gives me another turn here. And then I just finish off my movement there. I bring my warlord back just so he's nestled up against the warriors, so he's got plenty of bodyguards there just to pass some wounds if he decides to go for my warlord. And again, I didn't really see it as a major issue. If I lost my warlord, I've been down 2 dice, yes, but I've got enough models on the board. I'm generating far more saga dice than my opponent, and I still think I'll be in a strong position. And the peasants are desperately trying to run for the opening. My first little herd of sheep and people, almost at the stockade. Another turn they'll be through, and probably another turn after. The rest of them will be through, so my opponent has to do something pretty quick. So again, my opponent starts pushing on the right hand side to try and get those people there and push back the warriors, wiping out one of my warriors and having no damage done in return. And at the end of the turn, it's looking something like this. He's very limited on what he can do. Pretty much think the game's in the bag now, but we're going to play it through. There's only got two more turns left, and we'll just see what happens. My crossman, determined to get rid of the extra saga dice, managed to shoot off the last of the warriors with 2 rounds of shooting. And I finally placed my warband in such a way that it's blocking off any entrance to the last of the peasants there that are running up through the gate. That little bundle of warriors and peasants there all trying to pass through each other. My first group is home and safe. So my opponent goes in for it and tries to push my warriors back to try and make an opening to get to the peasants, which he successfully does and drives them back, now leaving my warlord out in the open and a set of peasants out in the open. So the Anglo-danes want some vengeance on my warlord and decide to go in with his warriors. Unfortunately, with his own troops there, he's going to reduce the amount of attacks he's going to get through. He's probably going to get 9 attacks through tops. And I played it defensively, so I lost half my attack dice, but gained some 2 extra defense dice, and managed to do 1 wound thanks to my Danax, and in return I managed to survive, though I did take a wound due to, but saved it due to resilience, so they still managed to cause a wound each, so I was, no, he must have taken another chap as well, must have been a guy within 2 inches, because I was pushed back there. So I decided to drive them back, throw my warriors, remaining warriors in, and my warlord, and managed to cobble his warriors pretty well there. And that is at the end of my turn, and the peasants just moving up through to the gateway, so they're nearly in now. There's my peasants there, so desperately trying to get to safety. My opponent's warriors are Hearthguard are pushing against my small unit of warriors, but unfortunately only managed to cause 1 wound, and I managed to cause 1 unwounded him, causing him to push back. And that was pretty much of his chance to push through now. My line's held, and my peasants are relatively safe. On the top, he managed to throw his warriors in against mine, just as a last-ditch attempt doing some more damage before my peasants escape. But unfortunately now his dice have completely turned against him, and he managed to lose 2, when I only lose 1, and he's pushed back there as well. And that is the end of my opponent's turn. And by the time we have 1 more round, and my guys would have been in, and there's no way he could get to him. So that was it. We called it there. Shook hands, and a good game over. So these are the last of the peasants running through the stockade here. The game was great. Really enjoyed it. I did find it was slightly easy on the defender side. We had another game afterwards. Again, he used his Anglo-Danish at this time as defender. I thought I'd get some manoeuvrability in and try the Bretons in against him as the attacker. And I did manage to get 5 peasants, but again, it just wasn't possible to get them out of the way and save them. Because all the defender has to do is just put a ring round them, while you have to break through the ring and then get back out again with the peasants. But we'll definitely have this game again, because it was good fun and it looked good as well. And yeah, a good little scenario. So that's in Wargames Illustrated. Sorry I can't remember the number. I'm sure you'll be able to find it though. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Farewellus. And as always, just a quick shout out to my giveaway. As I say, I don't put any adverts on this. I don't make any money through doing this. I just do it for fun. And just to add to the fun, I try and get hold of some stuff to give away. In this case, I have the Saga rulebook along with the 4 main battle boards to begin the Saga game with, and 2 lots of dice as well. We have the Christian Saga dice and the Viking Saga dice as well. So to find out what you need, first of all, I need 793 subscribers. That's the start of the Viking Age. And to find out more, just check out my Celts Call video for the last winner. Cheers.